Hi guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in this video, I'm going to talk about how I actually go about finding multi-unit deals on Rightmove. I'll provide a step-by-step guide to give you a little bit of insight into what I actually do to find deals. So before I actually go into the step-by-step guide, let me just explain what it means when I look at multi-unit deals. So for me, I'm looking at blocks of flats. So this is 2+ flats that are essentially under a freehold tile, under one tile, with the longer term goal to actually split the tiles into leaseholds and then potential refinance, pull out some of my money and then go again. So as some of you will know, this is something that I did last year. I purchased a block of 4 flats in Halifax, and the goal is this year we actually do split the titles and then refinance and pull out some of our money. So that in a nutshell is what I do. So let's go in detail how I actually go about finding these deals. So firstly, when I go on Rightmove, I will type in a city, a county that I know I'm interested in. Generally for me, I look at properties anywhere from Birmingham all the way to Leeds and potentially even a bit more north of the country. And when I type in that city, Rightmove will then give me some parameters to look at. So I will then put either 30 or 40 mile radius. I will type in 3 for minimum bedrooms, and then there's no maximum. And then I will click on flats for the type of properties that I'm actually looking at. And then I'll put in my price range. So now I've got my price range, I've got the minimum number of bedrooms, and I've clicked flats. And then I've also selected the area that I'm looking at with the respective radius around it. Then I'll click the search button. When I then click search, then all the flats will start to come up. Now, a lot of these flats will just be flats. So it'll be a masonette, an individual flat. However, what will come up as well is blocks of flats. You're gonna get 3, 4, 5+ bedrooms and similar amount of bathrooms as well. And those will be the ones I'm interested in. Then I will look at ones that look quite interesting and then I will click on it. Now, when I click on it, what I'm looking at now is it in a city or at least some form of town? If it's in a very remote area, then it's likely that demand or rental demand is not gonna be that high. So that's the first thing I'm looking for. The second thing that I'm looking for is it actually close to a station, and a station that's actually good for getting to other parts of the country. And generally for me, this is within about a mile, right? Because a mile, most people can either walk it or driving, it's not gonna take that long, right? Anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. So those will be the 2 key things that I will look at. With that, I'll also ensure it says freehold, because some of these properties are going to be under a leasehold. So you can get blocks of flats where it's under a leasehold tile or leasehold titles. So for me, I'll look at freehold as well. So if it's a freehold near a station in at least a city or a town, then I've got a good base now to go on. The next thing that I'll look at is actually the comparables. So those individual flats for that block of flats, how much are they worth? Let's look at an example of what could be potentially a good deal. So let's say there's a block of 3 flats and they're advertised for £250,000. It's 3 flats and each are 2 bedrooms. So how that's gonna show on Rightmove is gonna show us 6 bedrooms and it may show us 3 bathrooms. And I will then assess, okay, for flats like that in that area, how much are they being sold for? So I'll look at the comparables. So I'll go on sold house prices, type in that postcode, and then look at a quarter mile radius in that last year. And then I'll assess how much they're actually going for. Now, in this example, let's say flats that were similar in nature to those flats that I'm looking at were being sold individually for £125,000. If you now times that by 3, those 3 flats, that's £375,000. That could potentially be a good deal because I'm getting the block of flats for £250,000. There will be a cost, of course, to split the titles. That could range anywhere from £5,000 to £10,000. But then the new value on those individual flats will be £125,000 each, which will be £375,000, and I'll be able to pull out a lot of money out of the deal once I refinance. For me, it's extremely important that I'm actually comparing like for like flats in that area. The next thing that I'm looking for is a lot of these blocks of flats are actually being tenanted out. So if that's the case, I want to know how much they're actually being rented for. This will give me a good idea of the yield. So the gross yield is the total rent for that year divided by the purchase price of the block of flats. And for me, anything below 8% I'm not looking at all. Anything between 8-10% I will consider, and then 10% and above is a very good yield. Next, I'm actually going to check for what type of employers are there in the area. Are there large institutions, banks, construction sites, places of work? If this is the case, then again, this is going to mean that those properties are likely to be lucrative for potential tenants. Now, let's say these things have now checked out. The yield looks good, it's close to a main station, the individual flats would be worth a lot more than if I was to purchase it as one block, and it's a freehold, and it's close to big employers. Now I will then call the estate agent, because for me, I want to do a little bit more due diligence before I commute up to view the property. As a lot of you will also know, I'm based in Kent. So if I'm going to view properties in Doncaster, Hull, Leeds, I want to make sure I know as much as possible before I go up to view. I want to make sure that I'm pretty much at the point of actually putting in an offer. And the only really thing I need to do is just quickly do a final look over and view it to then proceed. Because what I don't want to be doing is just wasting my time and commuting up and down the country without actually understanding the fundamentals behind that property. Once I call the estate agent, I'm going to confirm some of the things that I think are true of the property. So I'm going to ask them, is the property under a freehold title? If it's under one freehold title, that means that there's potential for me to be able to split the titles. I'll also ask about the EPC as well. So in the UK, any EPC below E cannot be rented out to tenants. So the higher the EPC, the better. And the EPC is Energy Performance Certificate, which is a review that's conducted that assesses the state of the property as a whole. So it looks at things like insulation, the type of windows that are in the property, the roof, and other things like that as well. I'm also going to ask if the properties are being rented, that the rents are up to date, that there's been a fire risk assessment. I'm also going to inquire why the seller's selling. Knowing why the seller's selling can potentially put me in a favourable position to negotiate the price down. If they're very motivated and I'm in a place where I can buy the property quite quickly, then that gives me the ability to actually purchase the property below what's actually being advertised. I'm also going to ask if the seller's willing to negotiate as well, or if the price has actually been put on Rightmove, that they're set on selling as well. Again, that's another tool I can use to negotiate. And you can actually use this in any type of property that you're purchasing. I'm going to ask about if there's any known structural issues, damp and or roof issues with the property. Now, if this all checks out and I'm happy, and if everything I've just outlined is okay and good, then at that point, then I'll go up to view the property. And once I've viewed it, if there's no unbeknownst issues that I come across, then I'll be likely to put in an offer. However, if I now come across the property and there's things like damp, mold that I wasn't aware of, then I'll reconsider. I'll either not put in an offer, or I'll take into account what the cost would be and factor that in when I then put in an offer. So I hope this video has helped you understand how I actually look for good multi-unit deals when using Rightmove. If you enjoyed this video, do give it a like. And if you found value from this video or any other video on this channel, then do subscribe as well. And until next time, happy investing.